You're listening to the Spirit Podcast.
Hi, friends, and welcome to The Spirit. I'm your host, Beck.
And I'm Steph.
And today's episode is a fun one. We are talking about our favorite horror films. They are going to be all over the place, I can tell.
Yeah.
And we have a special guest today. His name is Ricky. And Ricky's here to add a little bit of joy and levity and probably more random horror films to our list. So,
welcome, Rick.
Welcome,
Hi, guys.
Rick. Yes.
Hi, nice to be here.
So I think if you guys want to grab a pen and paper, you guys can make a nice little list yourself. Let's start with slasher movies. I'm not a big fan of slasher movies, but I have one on my list that I consider to be a slasher movie. And it's called High Tension. Anyone heard of that one?
No.
No, I don't think I have.
I believe it's a French film, but I hope I'm not butchering it. I remember subtitles. And definitely it was a slasher, but it was female center based. So the lead character was actually female that makes her way through the slasherness. Definitely a recommendation if you're into that type of film.
That's cool. I think my favorite slasher movie would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I avoided that movie my whole life because I just thought it seemed dumb. I don't know. It just seemed like a cheesy movie. And then my brother was like, no, it's really good. You have to watch it. And I was actually quite impressed with it. It was a lot better than I thought. It's not scary to me. The idea of it is scary when you think about what's happening. But I just like the way that they did the movie, the way they filmed it. That was very entertaining and not bad at all. And not something that I think anyone would be afraid of. Just, I think, more enjoyable to watch.
It's classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. Almost all my movies that I'm listing are classics.
Oh, that's good.
I'm not very into films too much where I know all these obscure ones.
So many films out there anyway. There's no way you could watch them all.
No, there's a lot.
Yeah. And they keep coming, the horror movies.
How about you, Rick?
Well, the horror movies I tend to have resonate with me aren't ones that necessarily have like a really scary villain, lots of blood and gore, lots of death. A lot of the stuff that scares me is more representative of existential types of fears, you know, like, so I guess if I were to choose a slasher, because I do like some, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a great example. I guess, though, I would have to say the original Halloween.
Ooh, good. Yeah.
Because it was made for like $5. You know, Jamie Lee Curtis, nobody knew who she was at that point. Relatively unproven actress, and at a young age carried a whole movie on her back. And that one, to me, if I had to choose, I go back and I watch that regardless of its age. Because unfortunately, let's face it, the effects in horror movies and stuff, unless it's like Tom Savini, they don't tend to age particularly well.
Oh, I agree.
You know, but if you're a big fan of the movie, you know, that doesn't matter. You know, you'll still go and watch it, but
that movie had some real stress in it for me when watching that. I would be like holding my breath at times.
It did. And you were always looking in your back seat after you watched that film.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That movie made me afraid to go outside at night.
Yeah.
Just like Jaws made me afraid to go into a pool, a swimming pool.
Swimming pool.
For like 5 years after I watched it, you know. So yeah, that would have to be my top pick. I'm sure there's some lesser known ones or something kicking around in the back of my head, but my memory is terrible. I'll probably think of it 10 minutes
The one
later.
I actually really do like that's not that old is House of the Devil. Have you seen that one, Rick?
House of the Devil? No, I don't think so.
It's okay. So this movie's done in like a 80s style genre where they're trying to imitate those like late 70s, early 80s slasher type movies. But the suspense in the movie is so great. They build it up so well. And it's about a girl who's in college and she really wants to get out of her dorm because her roommate is very annoying. So she's looking for a job. She's looking for an apartment. And she takes a babysitting job and everything turns upside down. So a babysitting job turns in, well, it's not a baby, it's our grandmother, but we couldn't get anybody. So we thought it would sound easier, the people that would explain it to her, and they were so bizarre. They promised her like a huge sum of money, And her friends convince her, do not do this. And they're just building this up. And she's at this huge house in the middle of nowhere. The people are strange. And then everything comes together in the end. And you're like, holy crap.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't give the ending away.
No, I'm not going to give it away.
Okay. Do you notice with these films, when you're younger, they're more horrifying? And when Rick was saying they don't age well, they're not timeless. Some are.
Yeah.
Some are. I think there might be a few on my list that might still hold up, possibly. But I think to now's, the current generation, I think they would laugh.
I think what we get out of it when we watch them again when we're older is something different than what we got out of them when we were younger. I will say this, though. To me, horror movies are... even though it seems, even slashers, and even though it seems kind of crazy to say, the monster, the effects and stuff, all of that is usually secondary, right? As long as the monster looks cool. How the people die, you know, the crazy creative deaths or like situations, it's all kind of secondary, you know. I think there's certain, I guess, criteria a horror movie needs to be good. And I think almost humor is more important.
Oh, okay.
In a lot of, because, you know, even in the most, like, let's say Devil's Rejects, because any of those movies in that series are probably the most nihilistic, kind of depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're real human beings, you know, there's no voodoo curse or anything making them do what they do. They're just the complete definition of evil.
Yeah.
You know, but yet, even those movies, at times, it might be 5 seconds here or there, but they'll take the time to sort of bring levity back to it. They'll insert something funny, you know, there's a little bit of humor there. Or, you know, I also think the horror genre is more reverential of previous generations. You'll always see nods to previous directors in horror movies. You know, like horror movie creators have a sense of history.
For sure.
So I think those types of things, to me, more so than scaring me, more so than giving me like crazy, insane death scenes for me to talk about, the other kind of stuff to me is more important, you know, even if it doesn't scare me. If like you take Dawn of the Dead, okay, the original, which might be my second favorite horror movie ever, nothing about that is scary at all. Even at the time it came out, you know, I mean, I don't think anybody was...
Is that the one
hiding
where
under
the
their
zombies
seat.
were at the mall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the original one. And yet, almost everybody you talk to, you know, if they've seen it, it hooked them. There was a message there. There was characters there that you had a clear idea of. And it was more so the situation was scary. Like nobody wants to be in that type of situation. And yes, it's zombies. It's very otherworldly. Like that's never going to happen. But
Unless you're on bath salts.
Yeah. But it's that ancient, it taps into a primal human fear of that fear of the mob, you know, that fear of being alone, that fear that all of us have when we have to go against the grain or put out an unpopular opinion even, or live a lifestyle that's different from everybody else's. Like it's the movie's all about isolation. And so that to me is way scarier because that can happen. The zombies, all that, the crazy bikers who break in and all these other, that's all secondary. It's really representative of something else. So that's the kind of stuff that frightens me.
Very well put.
Along the same lines of the humorous horror movies, one on my list is The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Evil Dead has a lot of humor, and the spin-offs from The Evil Dead, the Army of Darkness, which is still kind of horror, I would say, on the horror line.
And who produces the Raimi brothers?
Yeah,
Was
Sam
that right?
Raimi.
Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, they did the Xena Warrior Princess show, which I was addicted to back in the 90s.
Oh god, yeah, Hercules too, right? And all
Hercules,
those?
yeah.
Good old Kevin Sorbo.
Good classic. Along the zombie lines, I have, and I think Steph might have the same one on your list, possibly.
Let me
28
look.
Days Later.
Yes, I like that one a lot. They made zombies scarier because zombies always been slow. And then they're like
They're running
at you.
Yeah.
It's like rage or whatever they called it.
I think it was the setting, too, that got me, because it was that dark
Yeah.
London streets, desolated, empty. There was something so dark that brought this fear into it. More so than Dawn of the Dead, to me. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think the setting was, because I think it was making different points, right? Steph, you touched on that zombies have gotten faster, in most, in that movie, but that kind of heralded a different type that we really hadn't seen before, unless you look at, what was it, Return of the Living Dead from the 80s with all the punks hanging out.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, but
I hate brains.
Acid rain.
but suddenly we were like every zombie was like Usain Bolt, they were
Yep.
they were hopped up and crazy, and I see, I think because when you look at Dawn of the Dead versus 28 Days Later, society was at two different places too at that point in time. So I think early 2000s, or even really today, people that like the slow moving zombies wouldn't scare them. Like, it's not, but it's the zombies from 28 Days Later are more reflective, I think, of how much we fear things now. It's no longer like, yes, they're everywhere. They're slowly creeping in, all of our fears, whatever it may be. But now it's like they're violent, just like how in the political sphere and everything going on today. Everything is so violent. The knives are out. People are attacking as hard as they can. I think that's why a lot of zombie movies have it that way now. It's not
Adrenaline.
even...
A lot of adrenaline.
Yeah, I love The Walking Dead. I love all those shows. And my mom would remark, oh, it's so gross. I'm like, that's not the point of it. It's the background. It's like what's happening in their little group and their society. That is what makes the story. And it's like something you're relating or you're inserting yourself into it in some way. Like, what would I do if I was in this situation? I know one of my favorite zombie movies is also not too old. It's called Dead Girl. Never heard of it. I came across it. I'm staying at a friend's house by myself and watching cable, and it was on.
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's amazing. It's more like a moral dilemma with these teenagers. It's a good teenager movie, and basically they go into an abandoned hospital that's very old, and they're just doing teenage stuff and just goofing around, and they find a girl tied to a hospital bed that's just squirming around and acting bizarre, and they can't communicate with her, and most of the boys want to take advantage of her. So there comes a moral dilemma, and so they don't know that it's a zombie. They just think it's like a mentally ill person that's just trapped there. It makes you wonder, like, how did this person get there? You don't get these questions answered for you, and just the whole storyline in it is brilliant. It's a very, very good movie to watch, and kind of frightening too. So if anyone wants to check that one out, I think it's excellent.
On my list, I have The Shining, which I'm sure
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
we all can agree is a classic top 10 horror film.
Now, is that a Stanley Kubrick story, or did he just direct that?
That's a Stephen King story.
That Stanley Kubrick made
Yeah.
into a film. Okay.
Yeah.
It's very good. I know that's a great film.
And just seeing what he put Shelley Duvall through.
And she's got mental illness now,
Oh, yeah.
which is very sad. I saw her on, I think, Dr. Phil or
Dr.
something.
Phil.
Yeah.
She attributed a lot of her anxieties and panic to what Kubrick did to her in the movie.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he kind of put her through hell.
Yeah, Kubrick
Wow.
was not a very actor-friendly director. He never was. He cared more about shots and framing and things like that than working, like kind of like George Lucas, but not the same, because George Lucas just didn't know how to direct people. Kubrick really just didn't care. And actually, fun fact, Stephen King hated that movie.
Yes, he did.
But yet he loved, I think it was Langoliers with Bronson Pinchot. Like, I don't know how that works,
It's
but
very odd.
yeah, he's the reason why we got the Shining remake on ABC with that guy from Wings.
It was... I remember that was terrible. Oh, man.
So bad. But the original, yeah. Once again, that's more of like, yes, I know there's ghosts and ideas of possession-induced madness and things like that. But, I mean, to me, that's the stuff that right there that I'm talking about that scares me. It's like I'm stuck like 100 miles from civilization in this building with a madman with an axe.
Yeah.
I have to make sure, not only on top of taking care of myself, but I have to look out for a little kid on top of it. Like, that stuff is what puts me on the edge of my seat. That's what makes me freak out. And when will Jack Nicholson never not be scary?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. I don't
It's
think
kind
you
of
can
scary
beat,
and everything.
Yeah.
you can't beat
It's
the
his
Kubrick
eyebrows.
version of that at all.
No. Like another Kubrick film was Eyes Wide Shut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting movie. I didn't like the gratuitous sex type stuff in there. I was able to look past that, and just such a strange movie and frightening
In its own way.
in its own way. And a lot of people look at that as that was he trying to tell us a message that this is going on. The other horror movie director, who's the one that, I mean, to put it this way, but raped the girl and he went.
Roman Polanski?
Yeah, he made Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
He made that's also like a child that supposedly was supposed to be offered to Satan.
Yeah.
And there's The Ninth Gate, which I think is a fantastic film. It's probably one of my favorite films. I've seen that so many times and I always enjoy it. Just so interesting. But that's all about people trying to gain power through Satan and opening up this gate. And then the ending is really quite interesting how that goes. But yeah, like his Roman Polanski and like his movies are really quite dark too. I think good. He's kind of disturbing. And was his wife the one that got killed?
Yeah.
The Manson Sharon Tate, which
Yes.
is all just so bizarre.
Totally bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine that. He's a horror filmmaker in some sorts, and his life is like a horror movie.
Well, there's a lot of conspiracies wrapped up around Roman Polanski as well. We won't go into the conspiracies just yet. We'll save that for another show. But speaking of the devil, classic one that I've watched with my nephews and nieces when they were kids was The Exorcist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't hold up for them.
Yeah.
I'm looking at them for their reactions. They're laughing hysterically, walking around saying the power of Christ compels you and joking.
Oh, man.
And I'm just like, wow, that affected me so differently when I was your age.
I still haven't gone through the whole movie because my dad allowed my sister and I to watch it. We begged him. When she got into the point where she's stabbing herself with a crucifix, I walked out.
Oh, yeah.
I was like turning beet red because of embarrassment because I had to listen to that in front of my dad. I never heard those things before, and that was enough for me. It was too scary and too many bad words as a child.
It's true. I mean, I think psychologically it's still horribly frightening.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually watch it's the effects that don't hold up. It's
The music is good though.
the music is good. That always sets the scene and the score for everything as far as setup for the scariest films. I think if you have a really good scary score,
Yeah, no, that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
makes.
I mean, you could make a B movie shine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, you can. And actually, I had to look up the name. I got it saved here because I just thought of it when I got here. Movie I hadn't seen in a long, long time. See, when I was growing up, my dad would watch horror movies all the time, and so as a young kid in the 80s, when the TV was constantly on TBS, the Superstation, on like Sundays, and so like you'd see a lot of kind of out of left field, also classic horror movies like Exorcist or Amityville Horror.
That's a good one too. I like that one.
Definitely. But one movie that stuck out to me, I haven't seen it in a few years, but and by the way, audiences back then and critics hated it, but what I remember of the movie, and the last time I watched it, I was probably like 30. Was The Seventh Sign
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a
with
great
Demi
movie.
Moore.
Yep.
Yeah, that one to me, the whole biblical end of the world thing, just the tracking shot, moving away from her, and she's just enveloped in this just nothing,
Yeah.
this darkness. That to me, I don't know. Watching that. There's certain scenes from that just are like ingrained on my memory, and I'm not a big Demi Moore fan. In fact, I think that's the only movie I can think of that I really liked her in.
Oh, you didn't like G.I. Jane? Come on.
I thought the premise wasn't bad. It's just more her acting, but
No, that was a great movie, actually. Seventh Seal.
I thought that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely had that darkness to it that haunted you. It haunted you.
yeah, it just, I don't know. I remember being a young impressionable kid. I was probably like maybe 7 when I first saw it. Forget the age of the movie, so I might be off by a year or two. But I don't know. That was something that stuck with me for quite a while after that. I'm sure once again though, I was talking about how they age. Maybe if I go back and watch it now, who knows? But
Yeah,
It
that's
might be cheeseball. There's a lot of movies that frightened me so bad as a child, like The Howling. It's really a cheeseball
yeah.
Oh
movie.
yeah, I think you even mentioned Chud.
Chud was scared me.
my God.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That seemed to be
Yeah.
on TV a lot for
It
some
did.
reason, and I'm like, it was be like on every Sunday, and I would be so frightened of that movie. And now I went back to look at the trailers. I was like, wow, they're bad,
Yeah.
but I still enjoy them.
What did Chud stand for?
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
That's
Yeah.
it.
It was radiation that the
Yeah.
government, or at least the local government, was trying to cover up. That people were turning into mutants.
Oh man.
or Night of the Creeps.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
another one in that sort of same vein. That didn't they? I don't know if Slither was like a remake or a sort of unofficial sequel. Do you guys remember that? It came out in like 2006.
I heard of that one.
I heard of it. I've
I've
never
something.
seen Slither.
But it's with Firefly, like the guy who played the captain in that. Do you remember that sci-fi show?
No, I've heard of it, but yeah, I didn't.
Gosh.
I've watched a lot of TV and movies, and then I go through a long periods of time of not watched anything in a long time, except every year when The Walking Dead comes out. I usually get that,
Yeah.
and I think this year might be their final. Is this their final year? Or are they going to keep it going?
I have no idea.
We're going to be
I mean,
80, and they're
I-
still going to be The Walking
yeah.
Dead.
They've got spin-offs upon spin-offs, and
Yeah.
it's really
I
ridiculous.
did like last season though. I
They
thought it was good.
really, they really Americanized it, turned it into this massive franchise.
Oh,
where-
Yeah, it's gone
like,
too far.
Fear the Walking Dead, the first season, I gave the first season a shot, and if anyone here is a fan, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but I fell asleep during every single episode of that first season, and then I just gave up. I just
I
thought
never
it was
finished it.
so, it suffers from a lot of things that I think a lot of movies today are, which I think it also is consequently is hurting horror films, is that there's no like peaks and valleys of emotion in that show. It's just one long massive meh.
I
Like,
totally agree.
it in that type of writing, I don't know, I think it's pretty prevalent in a lot of movies and TV shows today, but yeah, it's sad because I thought they had a good concept for a TV show. They adapted a great comic and they kind of overexposed it, but the original one, yeah, still, I know it has its critics, but I get drawn into it too. Like
It's a
people
soap
are,
opera, basically.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
A horror soap opera.
a horror soap opera, and you get invested in what's going on in their life, and all the characters I really liked are gone.
yeah.
But then I like some of the new ones too. Oddly, I didn't think I would.
I got some scare mail
Okay.
I'd like to read. This is from Jason in Queens. Thank you, Jason. He would like to add that The Thing, seeing it's awesome, and a benchmark for practical effects. He also wanted to add the Entity. He said that scared the shit out of him when he was a kid. And Prince of Darkness, and it's an underrated horror movie. He also mentioned The Ring, or Ringu.
Oh
the original
yeah,
Ring.
Yeah.
I have a story about seeing The Ring, and by the way, those are some great picks, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, The Thing. Yeah, if we're gonna get into the realm of sci-fi horror, The Thing is something that still I think holds up all today and scares the ever living crap out of me. But that scene when it breaks out of the one guy with the two guys chained to the bench, and the other one's trying to get away, and that still I can't watch that. But The Ring, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I can tell it if you guys want to hear it. It's like a 2-second story.
Yeah, go
but
ahead.
me and some friends, when The Ring came out in theaters, went to go see it, and one of my friends, he lives on one of the Indian reservations around here, and so coming home, we caught a really late showing. I was on the reservation dropping him off at like, gosh, it was probably almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's a lot of stories that float around about that place. But at the time, I didn't know a whole lot about that. And so I dropped my friend off, and he's getting out of my car, and he just kind of peers back in, and he's just like, stick to the road you came in on. And I didn't really know what that meant. I don't know if he was... at the time, I was like, is he afraid of me getting lost? Like, what? And so I go back the way I came, which is kind of the long way to where I had to go afterwards. But, you know, I'm doing it, and there's on one side of me, big open field, and other side, complete forest. And my car just shut off. And, you know, this is the reservation, guys, okay? I mean, it's a lot different there. There's no street lights. There's no nothing. You don't...
No.
It's totally different place.
No law.
Yeah, no law. I mean, I was pretty friendly with a lot of the locals, so I wasn't too worried about anybody messing with me or anything, but I was kind of worried, like, you know, young kid, broken down. I got 2 friends who are all antsy in the back wanting to go home. And my piece of crap car dies. And at the time, I thought it was just the car. But I turn the key back, turn it back again, and the lights turn on, but the engine doesn't even try to turn over. I don't even know how that happens. You know when you're you know... Battery's dead. Like,
you should have some ticking noise. If
none of that whatsoever. And the radio was off because we were talking, and the radio by itself came on. And... there was no station. It was all like staticky, but certain words came through, like "get out." Oh, you know, all of these things, and we're sitting there. And I have one friend. I'm a bit different now. I'm kind of less skeptical of that stuff now, but back then I was fairly skeptical, and I kept trying to say everything was going to be okay. You know, we're fine. We're only like a half mile from my friend's place that we just dropped off. Worst comes to worst, we just walk back. But he's refusing to get out of the car. He's freaking out. I pop the hood. Everything's fine. Can't see anything wrong. So I shut the hood again, and I was going to get back in the car to figure out what we were going to do. And I sat down, and I put my hands on the steering wheel, and all the lights turned back on again.
Wow.
And so I started it up. Everything worked fine. We drove out of there. But it was right after seeing The Ring. It's like the worst possible time, you know, you'd want to experience something like that. But I'll never forget that. It was just strange. But I will add a caveat too that this same car also blew up at one point.
Is it a Chevy Cavalier?
It
is?
But it was like the Plymouth knockoff of it. I forget what they're called, but yeah, it basically looked like one. And but it was, you know, so I don't know what it was, but after The Ring, that movie, I mean, we were all on edge after that happened. And then, you know, you go to the middle of nowhere and the middle of the night, and that happens. Yeah, that's...
I had a similar experience after watching Silence of the Lambs. Now, I was kind of young when that came out. Do you know what year that was? It was
in the 90s.
I thought it was...
In the 90s.
It was late 80s. I don't know. Maybe it was
early
90s. Okay.
Yeah.
But I was probably just a young teenager anyways. My mom wanted to see it, and my sister also. So we went to the mall, but the showing, you know, it was hard to get a showing. Not that anything bad happened to us, but it put us in a scared frame of mind after seeing it. Mm-hmm. Never seen a movie like that before where there was like a serial killer that was really demented. 2 serial killers, really, with the guy in jail or whatever talking to Clarice, and then you got the weirdo making someone's skin suit or whatever.
It falls under psychological horror.
Yeah.
I definitely...
Yeah, that movie won awards. That was like the first time that type of movie had won, I think, Oscars or whatever. So after we see it, we're the only ones left there. And we had to go down into the car garage in the basement.
You were worried about Hannibal Lecter getting you?
Well, we see our car way off in the distance. No one's down there except a guy with a van. Of course. That's in the movie, right? The guy puts the girl.
Buffalo
and
Bill.
My mom lost her mind. She's like, run! And we all ran to the van.
Well, that's based on a true story.
Yes, it's like Buffalo. No, that was part of... Is it Buffalo Bill?
Yeah, Buffalo
that was real?
Bill. Yeah, that was all based off of a true story. There was a book written about it as well. Relating to what Rick was saying in regards to his car, kind of had some alien vibes to it, too. Just because usually... a lot of the UFO stories when people's cars won't turn over and then the radios go on, which leads me to another one of my picks is alien movies and horror movies, sci-fi, but it can go there. And I know, Steph, I think you had Alien, the original Alien, on your list.
Ooh.
Yes, I love Alien.
And I have Prometheus on my list.
I love Prometheus, too. I never thought of that, but that's a great... I think that's like a true sci-fi type movie. It's so
sci-fi
good.
Horror, because, you know, the gravity of the situation and they're our makers, you know?
Yeah. No, I thought Prometheus had some really awesome concepts in it. Fire in the Sky, if we're going to talk about that too.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
That
Why
one...
did I forget that one? Because that one scared me to death as a teenager, I guess.
Yeah.
that one frightened me so bad. I couldn't get over some of the scenes in there. I have to say,
Yeah.
it was too much for me to handle. But then when you hear the real story, it kind of wasn't like that at all.
No, it was totally taken out. I think they do that though, mostly. You know, we
they have to.
adaptations and they've got to make it exciting.
Yeah.
Communion.
That actually at the time,
I don't think I've seen that.
It was
one.
a little frightening to me, but
That was
looking back,
scary.
I don't think it holds up now.
No, but Christopher Walken is just a weird looking dude.
And Communion again was supposedly based off of Whitley Strieber's true story again, which makes that more frightening.
I never, if you want to laugh, I never knew what aliens looked like until the Communion came out, because my dad had the book and he hid it in his drawer, and I was always like going through his drawers as a kid trying to find cool things or whatever. When I open up that drawer and I see this gray alien with, I've never seen anything like that. I literally closed the door and screamed.
It's a classic alien too.
In my point of view, if before that, if someone asked me, what does an alien look like? I'm like kind of blobby and chubby with like tentacles. That's my imagination at the time. Like I remember having to sneak downstairs in the middle of the night so I could watch a horror movie. So we used to set up this every Friday night. It was Friday night, Fright Night at our local TV station, and they would play the old classics like Phantom of the Opera and things like that. I couldn't even look at the Phantom of the Opera's face as a child, so when that would pop up, I'd have to close my eyes. That really did frighten me. But when I'd have to sneak downstairs and it was pitch black, my mind would go to aliens for some reason. This is before Communion.
This is the original Alien, or
this is before I knew what aliens looked like.
Okay. This is the blobby aliens.
So my imagination would get ahead of me, and I could picture, okay, I have to get down this hallway, and I would picture in my mind like these like blobs with like tentacles, and I was like, I gotta get past them. And now it's like it's all altered now because of that book. That's not what aliens look like, I guess.
I always imagine them smelling like cinnamon, putrid cinnamon, and I don't know where that came from.
You know, now that you say that, it's like, yeah, I can totally see that for some reason, or like formaldehyde or something strange like that, something antiseptic almost. Or
I agree.
It's wow, that's a good observation. like it's weird how your brain makes those little connections. A great sort of sci-fi horror movie. Also, you could call it a body horror movie, I think, is the movie Virus with Donald Sutherland and Jamie Lee Curtis and one of the Baldwin brothers. One of the less famous Baldwin brothers, William Baldwin, Billy Baldwin's in it. That's right. I don't know if anybody out there has seen that.
I don't think I have. I've seen quite a few.
I remember that one. They're all like, is he like a laboratory guy? Donald Sutherland?
Well, he's like a captain of a tugboat, and they find this military ship.
Okay, it must have been another movie he was in that I saw him in a lab coat.
Yeah. They'll always stick him in some sort of outfit like that. Yeah, but this tugboat group basically finds this military ship, and this computer virus has sort of spread to all the electronics on board. There's a lot of like robotic things on board, and it starts to kill people for their body parts, and it starts to meld the two together. And I think in terms of special effects, it was way ahead of its time, but it's something that Elon Musk would have a field day with if he hasn't seen it before.
I have never seen that movie.
No,
I think it's got to go on my list. What's the name of it again?
Virus. It came out in like 99, I think, and it was a massive flop. I didn't even know it existed until I caught it on the Sci-Fi Channel, I think in like 2005, like years later. Really flew under the radar, but I highly recommend to anyone out there. I'm not saying it's going to be great performances or
blow your mind.
Yeah, it's not like the plot's anything special, but
not many horror movies do though blow your mind.
Pet Sematary.
I have that on my list.
Oh my god.
Yes.
That movie, especially when the little kid
Gage.
Gage, and oh my gosh, just like
that had elements of everything.
It was so sad, and when he came back he was bad. I mean, it was so frightening in many ways.
Well, there was lessons to that when you start dabbling in things. And you're looking for a certain outcome.
Yeah.
The supernatural has a way of turning that around. It's kind of like magic. You have to sacrifice to get what you want, and you don't necessarily even get what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, or necessarily know what you're sacrificing either.
Exactly.
And yeah, no, that's another one that sticks with you for sure.
Now, wasn't that a Stephen King?
Mm-hmm.
Now, was Children of the Corn a Stephen King? Because
Yep.
that's on my list, too.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Children of the Corn. I was, again, scared of cornfields after that. I mean, even the Halloween corn mazes were, nope.
Yeah, that, I don't know if I was afraid of cornfields because of that. I mean, a little creeped out. That one, but the things that grossed me out in that movie were like, there was a scene where someone's like finger got cut off with a meat slicer or something that freaked the hell out of me as a kid, seeing that. There was a sequel to that too I thought was pretty good.
There
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Yeah, there was. And that one and Village of the Damned
Yeah.
scared me for the same reason.
Yeah.
Kids are scary.
They are. Yeah. Kids are scary.
Kids are nuts. Little Chucky doll is not. Children, even though they're like, even if they're the same size, they're creepy. Yeah,
They are. Children ghosts are creepy. Anything involved with the children is creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought also Freddy Krueger movies, what are those called? Nightmare on Elm Street. The original one's great. They're all funny. They have that. There's a lot of humor in that coming from obviously Freddy Krueger.
Right.
But there's the funnest thing I ever went to, and I had a blast, was the 3D one. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do. Okay.
I think it was the number 3. Was it the number 3
I think it was
movie?
the third
and they did
movie.
it in 3D. Yeah. And oh my gosh, I think myself, my sister, we all went to go. It was huge lines to get into the movie theater. And it was probably one of the funnest things I've ever went to.
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen any horror movie in 3D unless you consider like Godzilla versus King
the
Kong.
original, definitely a horror movie.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the original, yeah. That was what they were going for. Yeah, I agree. I think in a way it is. I mean, I would count it.
Okay.
I would count it. Different kind of horror, but
Great fun, I think.
Now,
Yeah.
a super psychological movie that really frightened me as an adult. It was kind of recent. It was called The Strangers with Liv Taylor.
yeah.
Or Tyler? Liv Tyler?
Liv Tyler, yeah. That one, yeah, definitely.
Never heard of that one.
That's a
Never
great
saw
pick.
that. You got to see that one.
There's a lot I haven't seen.
That one will make you afraid. Afraid of...
One of the other movies that... Now, we were talking about the exorcism earlier. The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh, yeah.
When I first watched that, I honestly slept with the holy water next to me for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And now I can watch that and I feel okay. But there were certain parts of that movie that was a big revelation to me because I had issues with waking up at 3 a.m. for years. And I would wake up at 3 a.m. with severe anxiety. It would be like, what would wake me up would be my heart pounding. And then when they put that in the movie... Well, guess what? Now I'm terrified at night. And I thought, what the hell is going on with me? Why am I waking up at 3 a.m.? And I never heard of that being like the devil's hour. So that movie scared me a lot. I really took a long time psychologically to feel like I could sleep at night without thinking about it.
I think anything with the devil... I believe you have The Right on your list.
Yes. And The Right, I read the book... beforehand. I was all excited about reading it. I think they did a great job because it really is accurate with a lot of the stories that was based off of The Exorcist. The person that wrote it interviewed The Exorcist, and there's a lot of references of people from the book that are in the movie. The only issue I had with the movie is the end is too theatrical. It's just so overdone. And it ruined it.
They have to blow it up.
It's the Hollywood, but I thought the whole movie as a story was great.
And Anthony Hopkins, of course.
Yeah, that movie didn't frighten me though. I enjoyed.
Well, it
had elements,
yeah.
But I think Exorcism of Emily Rose. I don't know. To me, that was like the one thing that scared me. So when I saw that one not too long after that, I think I kind of got over it, and that type of thing didn't scare me so much. Plus, I read the book, and it kind of prepared me a little bit. So maybe that's why. Exorcism of Emily Rose is based off of Annalise Michel, who was a person that they weren't really sure if she was possessed or mentally ill. But I'm telling you, if you go online, you can listen to the actual audio of her, and it's so frightening. I've never heard anything like that. I don't know if I've ever heard it. There's a few crazy people in my neighborhood. Nothing like this. This is incredibly scary. And Annalise Michel's life was so sad, and she was such a victim of whatever was happening that the word pity isn't enough that I had for her. It was just like, you look at a picture of her, her eyes are so dark. Underneath her eyes, like the dark rings that a lot of people get, these were beyond they looked like they were 2 inches long and wide and just so dark. And she suffered greatly. So when I saw that was based off of her, the real story is, to me, much more frightening than the actual film.
Another on my list is, I don't know if it would be considered slashers. I believe it's in the 70s. It's called Last House on the Left.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard of that one. I don't think I've seen that.
That was a frightening movie. I
the-
feel like that still might hold up.
What was the story behind that?
Last House on the Left was basically a house. It was a family that lived in a house kind of in a cul-de-sac type of deal.
Yeah.
And
Way out in the middle of nowhere.
Way out. And you had your basic psychopaths come in
Yeah.
and just murder.
Yeah.
But again, it had a lot of elements that movie, The Strangers, I was speaking about. It kind of had these elements of just living in a home and just feeling not safe, or feeling someone else is in control of the situation.
Yeah, it's kind of like a softer version of I Spit on Your Grave.
Right.
Oh, okay.
In a certain respect. Yeah, like it's... Yeah, that one is a classic. I even enjoyed the remake that came out not that long ago. I thought that was good. I thought they stuck to the original movie fairly well. You know, just kind of gave it an update. It was pretty decent. We were talking about Christopher Walken earlier, and once again, not the greatest movie ever or anything, but one that I still go back and watch, and it's not particularly scary, is the movie The Prophecy. Now, if you go back and watch it now, it definitely suffers from a bad case of the 90s.
Okay.
But, I mean, there's something... basically, Walken plays the angel Gabriel, and he's tired of the battle between heaven and hell. He really wants Judgment Day to come. He's just this old, broken-down soldier who he's done fighting for humanity. He's done with this. He can't take it anymore. Doesn't see the point. And so he decides to make Armageddon happen. And he does this by finding the most evil soul on Earth, which happens to be in Arizona. I don't want to give too many reasons why, but the body that contained it had just passed away, right? And so if he possesses this, it's almost like possessing a nuclear warhead. Viggo Mortensen plays Satan. And it is the scariest, and he's only on the screen for like 3 minutes. But it is the scariest version, and in my opinion, the most realistic version of Satan that I have ever seen. What he says, what he does. He's part super mad genius, part animal in this. I mean, that one, I think that one is, the only time I'm scared is when I see him on the screen as Satan, and he's not even really doing anything. But,
I'd have to revisit that movie. But I do slightly recall that. Can you wrap your head around the fact that he said Viggo Mortensen was the scariest devil, Satan, when you've got Al Pacino?
Yeah, I know. Hey, if we're comparing who's the better actor, that's a different story. But I mean, it's just I think maybe Mortensen, because if I'm not mistaken, he's a Catholic, and I think he really used his knowledge, his religion to, because I don't know, it's something to see. I'm sure you could just, if you just want to see what I'm talking about when it comes to that, I'm sure you could just pull up the clip of his one scene in the movie from YouTube. But yeah, Gabriel's gone rogue, and it's kind of, you know, as a Catholic looking back on it now, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of whatever. But at the same time, it's just Walken's performance and Mortensen's performance. I'll go back and watch it for that, because Walken will always do really great performances in movies he does not care about.
Yeah.
And minus The Deer Hunter, any really great movies, and I don't know, but I tend to find his performance is kind of like, oh yeah, he was there.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of odd, but then you watch something that went straight to DVD and was made for $50,000, and he just happens to be in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, he is really giving it here. Like, I don't know. He's weird like that.
True Romance. He was great in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a bomb, wasn't it? Yeah. But that was a great movie. Oh man, True Romance. I hadn't thought about that. I gotta go back and watch
Me
that.
too. Now let's talk about Poltergeist 1 and 2. 2 was my favorite.
I'm just trying to remember, because there's 3. Is there 3?
I think there is.
Yeah.
I think 2, the reason it scared me is you had that reverend that God is
The tall
in
man.
the holy temple. Peace on earth is what he'll bring.
Is that the tall man character that's following her around?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's like, come with me, little child. You know?
Yeah.
That is a scary one. I have
That's
to
the
say.
scary. He
But that
drinks the
clown-
tequila. You know, he gets the worm. He pukes it up, and it's the guy. It's the preacher
That's
guy.
right.
Yes.
I remember that now. Which one was it with the little Southern lady? Because she's in a few of them. Which one is it where she just like falls over and turns to like dirt? Like
Oh, that might be one of the maybe
Maybe
the third.
the third.
I think so.
But wasn't she? When did the girl end up dying
In real life?
Yeah,
After the third one, right?
Yeah.
It was after the third
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. There was wasn't there like a bad juju with that movie?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
there
across
was.
the whole thing. Gosh, you guys keep touching on movies that are making all my conspiracy theorists like
That's okay.
notions like go crazy, but that is another one where she if you ever read about her life was a horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I'll let the listeners.
You can look
Look that up for
You
I
can
know
look
there's some
into
terrible
it. I
things
mean, the
that
girl
Yeah.
that played the older sister in the first one died. Wasn't she murdered? She was murdered.
Oh, I didn't
I
know
think
that.
so.
Yeah. And then there was just bad things that was happening to the cast and during filming and
Same thing with The Omen. A lot of people
Yeah.
died doing The Omen. They had very terrible things, and that was based off of. It was supposed to be the Antichrist, right? The child.
yeah.
That movie really creeped me out. I even think that when they redid that movie, I don't know if anyone saw the redo,
I think I did.
was done really well.
I don't think I saw the redo.
The redo is really good. It's basically the same story. They didn't really,
Just updated.
just updated. But yeah, The Omen freaked me out a lot. The whole idea, especially with the Rottweilers showing up in the cemetery, and that they're being chased by Rottweilers, so there's just some frightening scenes in there. And the whole idea that the child, I think at the end the child kind of looks back because he's at the funeral of his father or someone, and the president came, I think, the president of the United States, or I don't know, it was just
Don't
weird.
give away the whole movie.
I know, but he
Steph.
gives this
I know it's
weird
from
look.
1970, but many people have not seen this movie yet.
It's all for you, Damien.
Has anyone
Yeah.
seen The Witch?
The Witch.
Yes.
No.
I've been meaning to see that. I haven't
It's-
seen it yet though.
Oh,
I thought
it was-
the acting is crazy good in there.
What about the backdrops and the New England setting
Oh,
and the
it's-
darkness and the farm?
All of it is done really well, but that one disturbing scene that everybody knows, I'm not going to say it, is just like a stomach turner. I was just like, whoa, it's creepy. And I thought it would be more creepier.
I
than
thought
that.
it was
The
more
end-
creepier. I thought that was like one of the scariest witch movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, that's scary. It was good. It was good, but it was disturbing, and made me feel like, I don't know if I could see that again.
Now, wasn't it like Summerland? Somarland or something like that.
Yeah, Summerland.
Same maker as The Witch or same producer,
Yeah,
director.
Ari something. He also did Hereditary, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm sorry, that is one movie I don't even like talking about.
It's that bad.
It was scary.
I mean,
yeah,
as in scary.
it's not like Cannibal Holocaust where it's like I will never ever view this again because it's like watching humans get murdered. It's not like visually. Well, it is visually, but not like visceral. It's not like that. But it's listen. What goes on in that? I had to turn it off because
It was disturbing.
Really?
I mean,
Is it a girl or a boy that plays the character in Hereditary?
Well, that's the thing. They make in the previews they make you think it's all about this girl. It's not, and I don't want to give away why because it's still a fairly new movie, so I'm sure a lot of people out there haven't seen it.
I'll have to watch it, I guess.
But I don't recommend it.
Really? Is that
Honestly,
bad?
like me and you being spiritual people, I was
was-
watching it and I went, I thought this was going to be just a whatever horror movie, and it's like this took a hard turn, and what they're doing on there is ceremonies that I know for a fact.
They took like real life.
Like some of it, yeah, it is, and it's like I don't like that on my TV.
So yeah, I think these things are modeled and based off of real things, and it was completely disturbing. He's right. There were scenes in there that were just like they made
Yeah.
my skin crawl. Like I remember feeling it come right up the back of my neck, like woo. And Toni Collette was amazing in that. It was just so well done.
Yeah, when she floats up into
Yeah.
that was when I went, okay,
That's
this is not what I thought. I mean, even
Oh,
before that, I was already
that's cool.
kind of saying that, but when I saw that, I went, oh,
I think that's
All
when I
right.
said, "Oh, all right."
Yeah.
That was the part that I was like, "This has shifted."
Yeah. Due to my life experiences, though, knowing what I know about, let's just say, the group of people portrayed in that, and you know, I even don't like saying this much, but still, watching that, I went, this guy, let's just say he knows what he's talking about, the director, and it's not necessarily a thing. I mean, yes, does it make for something really frightening? Yes. But should you be putting that in there? No, you definitely should not.
They cross the line, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, but listen, if its goal was to make me freak out, well, it achieved its goal. You know,
Yeah.
she's right. Toni Collette's a great actress, and
Yeah.
she was great in there. It's just, yeah, that one, wow.
I'll have to watch. I haven't seen that. I've heard of it.
It's a worthy watch for sure. I'm getting right down on my list here. I revisited recently a movie called The Changeling, the 1980s with George C. Scott.
I remember
vaguely
hearing it. I'd have to probably watch the trailer to see if I watched it or not, because it's not ringing a bell that I've seen it, but I could have.
Again, it's you know, it was done in the 80s, so you watch it nowadays and you're kind of like, But the premise of the movie was great, and the actual it was about well, I don't want to give the movie away. The Changeling. It has a nice twist to it. But what I found fascinating about that was when I revisited it, I noticed that there was EVP in it, and that's kind of a rare thing. You know, I remember Stir of Echoes. Was it Stir of Echoes or
Kevin Bacon?
Frequency? Maybe it was Frequency.
Oh, with Michael Keaton?
I'm thinking of one. I feel like Kevin Bacon did one where he communicated with the dead.
Yeah, that was Stir of Echoes.
Okay, Stir of Echoes. I was right.
Yeah,
on.
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I hadn't really never remembered that, but there's a point where he's recording on a reel-to-reel, you know, the old reel-to-reels, and he's picking up this little kid's ghost voice so clear
wow.
into it, and it just was like, ooh, that held up for me. But the movie itself, just, you know, the effects and some of the acting was really over the top, but it was still fun, and it's so rare. It'd be a good one for people to check out if they've never seen it.
Yeah, I think one that I would bring up, it came out in I think like 2004, and pretty sure it was a Japanese movie, but it's called Coma, Koma. Once again, I think people would throw it into the suspense sort of category, but really it's about this one young girl. She actually lives through that old urban myth where, you know, waking up in a bathtub full of ice with your kidney taken.
Oh.
Yeah, and she needs a replacement. Her other kidney isn't doing so good. And I could be getting a couple of these things wrong, and I apologize, small details, but she has to get a new kidney. And she selects someone who from afar, this other girl that she hates, because she has this terrible conception about her. And it's a complete misconception. She thinks she's like this fake, awful person to try to make herself feel better about having to set her up and have her kidney taken. There's this whole reason behind it. Not only that she's sick, but I mean, she owes people money, like the whole thing. So she spends all this time trying to be this girl's friend and befriends her, and still gets to learn how, like, what this girl's really all about, that she's not a bad person. Goes through with it anyway, and it turns into this whole conflict between the two. And not to give away the ending fully, but the girl who was responsible for all this, she gets what she wanted and realizes, just kind of like you were talking about with the magic thing before, where it's like, maybe it would have been better to just, you know, not go through with any of this. It's like, yeah, maybe you're alive, but look what you've wrought. You know. And so that one, to me, I don't, man, the conflict at the end between these two women, like, I'm just like, yeah, get her. Like, yeah, you know. And then still, though, there's even the villain, you're like, you do kind of feel bad because you learn things about her that she's not completely terrible either, and you do want her to live. You don't want anybody to die, but you're just like, yeah, you know. It's a great movie, though. It's really, really good.
One last one for me. I think vampire films have been so overdone that they're hard to like at
I
all.
agree.
But the best one I ever saw was a Swedish film called Let the Right One In.
Yes, the
Oh,
original.
wow,
The
yeah.
original. The
Not
American
remake.
one is not
Yeah,
good.
I agree.
It's not bad, but it just, the original one is fantastic. Did you say that you saw that, Rick?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought that was done so well. And what was interesting to me is that you see this poor kid is making a bond with this young girl that he thinks is normal, but she's really just using a manipulation game. Because in the beginning, she's got this old guy that's taking care of her. You think it's her grandfather or something.
Don't give it away.
Yeah, I won't give it away. But it's all a manipulation, and you really... You have to watch it carefully because you think that they're becoming friends. Because you see these real acts of bonding that friends would do. And she's not doing anything. She's always trying to please him. But at the same time, everything is aimed towards her goal. Or his goal, I should say. Or was it a boy or a girl?
I think it's
It was a
switched
girl.
for
It's
each
switched,
film, yeah.
So, in the end, it seals the deal with this boy because the vampire saves his life. But when you realize that his life is saved, and you have to watch that to see what happens, it's really brilliant what was done in the film, and it's quite intense.
And the way it was filmed was cool.
Oh, it was great.
It
I
had
liked
this
the
darkness to it. It was
and a slow go to the movie too. It's not like this fast paced thing.
Yeah.
But you realize that even ultimately at the end, he really loves this girl, and she saves him, but it's all for her selfish purposes, and you'll see it, but you think it comes off as so good, like such a good friendship. You have to have a really good eye to see that it's all manipulation. Then the movie ends after that. But that's probably my favorite vampire movie at this point.
I would have to agree with that.
Wow, that's a good one. I would have to say, if we're getting down towards the end, the only other one I can think of, and I just saw this recently, but it was a 2011 film it was actually Rick Mayall's last movie before he died. It was called One by One.
Never
And
heard of it.
well, I'm not surprised because once again, tying into sort of my conspiracy theorist sort of mindset, but the movie is about a group of friends in London. This one girl of the group, she's kind of the newcomer. They expose her to the plans of the New World Order. And they're like, yeah, they are going to kill all of us. Like, that is going to happen. It's in the near future. And the whole movie, and listen, the movie was made for under $25,000 because nobody would fund it. Rick Mayall actually did it for free. And he was a big proponent of the movie before it came out, and then he inexplicably has a heart attack. But it comes out, and they won't release it on DVD in large numbers. I had to order mine from the UK. It's a British movie, and luckily it was region free. I was afraid it wouldn't play, but at the end, it starts to happen, and that is it. There is nowhere to go. You are just sitting in your house, your shop, whatever, and you're just awaiting your death.
So that's frightening too.
Yeah.
My last one on my list, my absolute last one. It's so... Guys, this is a made-for-TV film. I believe it was like on one of the major networks back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And it was called Dark Night of the Scarecrow. You can find it on YouTube and watch it for free. Terribly wonderful. It was horrifying as a child. But basically the premise is there is a man that's trying to get away from the law or the villagers or whatever the case may be. I believe it was a farm setting. And so he slipped up into a scarecrow to try to hide from being caught. And they shoot him inside the scarecrow. And he inhabits the scarecrow and comes back to take his vengeance. But there were certain scenes, and it definitely doesn't hold up. But if you want to watch something that's going to make you laugh along the lines of Trolls and Troll 2.
Oh, boy.
I would definitely... I mean, I don't even know if it's as classic as Troll. But,
well, he doesn't sing Groove On Down the Road or anything.
No.
What was the name of it again?
Dark Night of the Scarecrow.
I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah.
That sounds terr-awesome.
It's terr-awesome, and it's free, and you can watch it on YouTube, guys, right now. So is there anything else before we start wrapping, guys? Anything?
No, now I feel like I have to watch some more movies if I can fit
Yeah.
them in.
I've heard some great movies come up that I either haven't seen in a while or haven't seen at all. So yeah, that's great. Maybe look some of them up and get a more well-rounded horror education.
We have to prepare for Halloween.
Yeah.
I always do that, watch horror movies before Halloween.
That's why we're dropping this episode. Is that it's Halloween, guys, and you need to catch up on your horror films from the 1970s and up.
Does anybody have any Halloween movie like traditions? Like, I think for me, seasons always bring along like movies I gotta watch at that point in time. Like this time of year, I have to watch Ghostbusters.
I have to watch The Great Pumpkin. Charlie Brown.
Yeah, of course.
Oh gosh, yeah, I think that was always the the Charlie Brown one. I don't know. I just find a random one. I don't really have any traditions that I have to
Whatever
watch.
pops up
along
along the way.
And and especially ones I haven't seen, just to get a new thrill about something. But I like it when they are more Halloween based type of horror movies, which are fun. What was the one that it was it was a late 80s.
Hocus Pocus?
Oh no, Hocus
Oh,
Pocus.
that was 93,
That's a classic.
right?
That's a
92,
really
93.
actually I used to watch Hocus Pocus.
Love that movie.
Before Halloween for that one. But there was one, oh gosh, it was little kids and there was monsters in it. They summoned like
Oh, Monster Squad?
Monster Squad.
Yeah. Monster Squad was awesome.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
Oh, Near Dark. I'm sorry, I meant to say that one. Did you guys ever see Near Dark with
No.
Bill Paxton? Oh,
I've
another
heard of it.
classic 80s vampire movie, even though they never say they're vampires. I think actually your brother, Brian, has it, Steph.
Oh, okay. I'll have to ask if I can watch it with him.
Yeah, highly recommend that one. Well, anything Bill Paxton you should
Oh,
watch.
I love Bill Paxton. May he rest in peace.
Yep.
Do you guys mind if I do a quick plug before
No.
we close? Okay. For the listeners, just want to let you know right now, between October 5th and the 12th, if you have a Kindle, you can download my book called Look Up, The Journey of a Soul Satellite for 99 cents. It's a countdown deal on Kindle from today to the 12th. And it's got a little actual real life paranormal stories mixed with the ITC research that I do. So if you're into a little bit hairy things, a little frightening, there is that. But there's also a lot of spiritual growth and development as well in there. So again, 99 cents. Kindle deal, October 5th through the 12th. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Rick.
Oh, yeah, no, it was a pleasure. It was great.
We love having you.
Yeah, I looked forward to this for a while.
I did too. And
Oh, thanks.
we definitely are having you back.
Oh, awesome.
And
Okay.
we just want to thank the listeners. I'm Beck.
And I'm Steph.
And don't forget to floss. Bye, guys.
To the spirit
Podcast.
supernatural science
I'm ghost.
psychic mystic
Spirits.
divine source
Heaven. The dead. It's magic.